Welcome to Wood Burning University. My name is Minisa, and today I'm going to show you how to transfer an image onto a piece of wood using graphite paper. So if you've never used graphite paper before, it's really a very simple and easy way to transfer an image onto another surface by tracing. So here I have the graphite paper. You'll notice there's a shiny side and a dark side. You want to make sure that that dark side is down. And then you can use whatever writing instrument that you'd like, whether it's a black pen, you could use red pen, you could use pencil. You could even use any hard object like a stylus pen. Just anything that will apply pressure to transfer the graphite paper from the back of the paper onto your image. Now it's up to you as an artist to decide which tool you'd like to use. Feel free to experiment with each one and see which one works best for you. Step 1, you're going to want to gather your materials. You will need a piece of wood, preferably one that has been sanded, to approximately 400 to 800 grit. You will need your image that is sized approximately to your piece of wood. You will need graphite paper, and you will need some sort of a writing instrument. You will also need clear tape to secure your image onto the wood. Optionally, you can use a piece of sandpaper to lighten your lines after the transfer is complete. Step 2 is to trim your image. After your image has been cut out, place it on the wood and secure it with a piece of tape. If you only add one piece of tape at the top, then your image can still kind of wiggle back and forth. So I like to add a second piece of tape on the side. Now I can still lift my image to check underneath, but it is not going to walk or wiggle. I prefer to get my graphite paper from Walnut Hollow. So when you first receive your graphite paper, carefully open the package. You'll notice that when you receive your graphite paper, it's quite large. And as you unfold it, the graphite paper is 12 inches by 24 inches. So the graphite paper is very large. This is great for transferring on large images, but for a small project like this, sometimes having this much paper can be overwhelming, so you can cut it down to a more manageable size. Step 3 is to place the graphite paper under the image. So there's two sides to the graphite paper. One is a darker side, and the other is a shinier side. You'll want to make sure that the shiny side is facing up, and the dark side is facing down. Slip your graphite paper under your image. Next, you're going to take a writing utensil that you prefer. Step 4 is to trace the image onto the wood. I generally start with the outer edges of my subject first. So as we work our way around the outside of our image, you can lift this from time to time and check to make sure that your image is being transferred on correctly. So slowly work your way around your image using a moderate pressure. You do not want to press down too hard. You do not want to press down too light. Now if you press down really hard when transferring this graphite paper, you're going to transfer a lot of pigment down. Whereas if you use a very light pressure and you just barely go across the surface of the graphite paper, you will produce a very light line. So your downward pressure when transferring images is very important. For darker subjects, you can press down quite a bit and you'll be okay, but for lighter areas or lighter subjects, you'll want to have a lighter pressure and create a lighter line. Keep in mind also that when you press down really hard, you can actually indent the surface of the wood. So really be careful and try to maintain a more moderate pressure. Again, take a peek underneath once in a while to make sure that your image is transferred on correctly. To simplify the process of transferring an image onto the wood, I usually start with the main shape of my subject. After you trace the outer image, next we'll start working on some of the key features. I usually start with the eyes and the nose. Then you can move on to other areas such as the ears. And you can check underneath often to make sure that everything is where it should be. Continue working down your subject, transferring on the main features. If at any point you're not sure what you've transferred and if you've missed anything, just take a look underneath and see where you need to add more detail. Then you can check again. Now for areas that appear a little bit lighter on your reference photo, you might lighten up your pressure so that your lines are not as dark in those areas. Using this method, you can transfer as much or as little detail from the reference photo as you'd like. Make sure to do a final check to make sure that you have everything in place. Add any information that you may have forgotten, such as the shadow of the deer. Now once you're happy with your transferred image, step 5 is to remove your graphite paper and carefully remove your taped image. Now you might notice some bits of graphite left over from the paper. You can take a piece of sandpaper and gently sand the wood to take off those lines. Another thing that I like to do is to sand the entire image lightly. If you find that you've pressed too hard and it can be difficult to remove these graphite lines, sandpaper is a great trick to soften these graphite lines a little bit before you burn. Once you've sanded down your guidelines, you are ready to start wood burning.